Happy New Year, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an awesome video for you. We've got our 5 best-selling projects from 2025. It's 2026 now, so we're looking back at 2025. Before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support over the last year. You stuck with us as we moved shops, and I know we've been a little on and off with posting lately, but hopefully we'll do more of the on of posting. So, yeah. Thanks again, enjoy the video. Today, I'm gonna show you how to make this super simple DIY bench that pretty much any skill level can make, in my opinion. I think pretty much anyone can make this. It was about $35 worth of wood. We're gonna sell it for $200, and it was just 6 2x4s and 3 1x4s. I believe that's right. All right, let's get into it. So, all you're gonna need for this project are 6 2x4x8s and 3 1x4x8s. And then a little bit of a dowel. Probably only gonna need about like 6 inches of it, so not much, but we did buy a whole dowel because that's how they sell them. So let's get to cutting. So what you're gonna do is take 3 2x4s over to the miter saw, and you're gonna cut 2 pieces that are 40 inches long from each of those 2x4s. You're also gonna end up with a 16-inch piece left over. Keep that, we're gonna need that later. So once you're done cutting up all 3 of those, you're gonna have 6 pieces that are 40 inches long and 3 pieces that are 16 inches long. Then, with another 2x4, again, you're gonna make 1 cut at 40 inches, but only 1, and then you're gonna make 3 more cuts at 14.5 inches. And with all 3 of those 16-inch cutoffs, you're gonna cut those down to 14.5 inches as well. And then for the other 2 2x4s, you're gonna cut them down and get as many 14.5 inch pieces from it as you can. Do you really wanna see me cut 14 of these? Comment down below. Are we gonna show them 14 or no? No? All right, we've done 6. You can imagine, just imagine we did 8 more. And I know that was a lot to throw at you, so we're gonna put a cut list right here on the screen. So go ahead, pause this video, and you can take a screenshot of this cut list. You can write it down, whatever you want. So these are the cuts you're gonna make. Next, you're gonna cut down the 1x4s. The 1x4s, way easier. You just need a bunch of pieces that are 18 inches long. To be exact, you're going to need 12 of them. From those 3 1x4s, you'll be able to get 12 pieces cut out that are 18 inches long. You'll have quite a bit left over at the end. Save that, make some scrap projects. That's all you're gonna need for this. Make those cuts, and then we'll get to assembling. All right, I'm gonna give you the cut list again now they're all cut up just for ease sake. So, 2x4s. We've got 14 of them cut at 14.5 inches long. Moving on, 1x4s. We've got 12 of them cut at 18 inches long. Again, 2x4s. We've got 7 of them cut at 40 inches long. Now for all this lumber, you don't need to worry about width or thickness. It's all gonna stay the same. Just buy it from the store, cut it to length, and then this is what you'll have. And then we've got these 2 scrap pieces. Now the next step is pretty fun, especially if you've got them all laid out like this. We're gonna go alternating 2x4, 1x4, 2x4, 1x4, 2x4, 1x4, 2x4, 1x4. Do you get the picture? You get it all the way down, and you're starting and ending with your 2x4s on the end. And these are going to be both of the legs. It's gonna have 7 2x4s and 6 1x4s. All right, so your legs are gonna look like this. You're gonna start with a 2x4, alternate until you have 6 1x4s in between, and end with a 2x4. So here we have it standing up. It's not glued together or anything. And then you can probably figure out these 2x4s are going to go in between, like there, and go all the way across. Pretty cool project. Yeah, so now we're gonna glue these together. We've got our piece here, and we've got a straight edge against the edge of our workbench. This is just one of our 40-inch pieces that we're not using right now. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna flip this one down this way, this one this way, this one. Keep it going all the way down. Once we've got all of those faces exposed, we're gonna put glue on all of them. We're gonna rub in the glue. Make sure that you're not putting glue on the 1x4 that is exposed over the 2x4, because we don't want that yet. We will do that later. And then once it's all done, glued up, then we're gonna put some clamps on it just to help that glue solidify a little bit. And while that's gluing, you can go ahead and do the other one. All right, we've got the 2 sets of legs gluing up. Now, while we're waiting for that, we're gonna be sanding and staining the 2x4s. We're gonna do these legs one color, and then we're gonna do the 2x4 top, a different color, so it's way easier to do it now. So we're just gonna go ahead, sand all these, stain them. One thing to note about the top, if you're gonna stain it before, you don't wanna stain the very edge face grain here, or the bottom, or right here, within 3.5 inches, because when this goes in, you want this to be exposed, so then you can put glue in here, and then the glue will bind to this part, which is also gonna be just plain wood. Now, 2 of them, you are gonna have on the outside. So this face grain will be exposed. So you're gonna wanna stain that for 2 of them, but the other 5, go ahead and stain the whole thing, but leave 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches here unstained, and here unstained on both sides. But you are gonna stain the end grain and the top of all of them.
This is our top, and you can see that we left all the way around a good bit for that glue to set in on.
But not on the 2 end pieces.
Not on the 2 end pieces. The 2 end pieces, you go all the way on one of these faces.
All right, so the top is all stained, sanded, looks good. Now we unclamped one of the legs. We're gonna leave the other one clamped while we work on this one. We're gonna go ahead and sand it down 60 grit, then 120, then 220, and then we're going to stain this a nice golden oak. Is it golden oak? It's golden oak. We're gonna stain this golden oak, then we'll do that to the other one. Let that dry for a little bit, then put the whole thing together. All right, we've got them sanded and stained, looking good. Now we're gonna go ahead and put some glue in between here. So we're just gluing all the end grain here, and then the side grain, both sides. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other set of legs. All right, here we go, the fun part. I'm gonna start with the one from the edge there, one in, because this has 2 different places of contact. All right. And I'm gonna line it all up. And just keep going. Some of them might be a little tighter than others. You might need to use a mallet. Probably should just be able to push it down. Yeah. Now we're gonna line all these up. We chose to do that at the end after they're all in. So now we must fix. Where's the mallet? And then we went ahead and we put a clamp on here and we put these 2 pieces of scrap 2x4 so the metal wouldn't dig into these. But yeah, here it is. Did on both sides. So we're gonna go ahead, let it sit for a couple hours, let all that glue solidify. I did mention a dowel in the middle. I did mention a dowel in the beginning of this, so if you'd like to, after this is glued up, you can go ahead and put a dowel on these end ones. Now looking at it, I don't actually think you need it, because this glue is sturdy. So we're gonna let it sit for a while, and then we'll come back to you when it's all done. All right, guys, here it is, the finished product. Bench from 2x4s and 1x4s. So all in all, it's about $35 worth of wood, and we're gonna put it up for $200. See if we get any hits off it. $150 would be the price that I'd be happy with for this, but $200 seems like a fair price to me. All right.
Yeah, all 300 of you.
I've got the attic thing in my face. 300. Try 199. Haven't gone up to that 200 mark yet, but we'll get there. So guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below any other videos you'd like us to make. I'll see you in the next one. For $5, you can get a 2x4. And from a 2x4, you can get a waving American flag. This project cost me $5 to make. It was exactly 1 2x4 and then 1 small piece of scrap wood. That is all I needed to make this beautiful waving American flag. So we're gonna take the 2x4 over to the miter saw and we're gonna cut 4 pieces that are 23 7/8 inches long. Why are they not 24 inches long? Well, because the blade is 1/8 inch thick, so it'll take off a little bit. So to counter that, we're just gonna go 1/8 inch in so we can have 4 perfect pieces that are the exact same size. And at the end, 1/8 inch isn't gonna make a big deal. We just need one more of these extra pieces. So if you have a scrap 2x4 that's at least 2 feet long, go ahead, grab that. We don't, so we're just gonna cut it off another 2x4. So we're just getting 2 feet cut off this. So this, in the end, will be a 1 1/4 2x4 project. So we've got our 5 pieces cut. Now what we're gonna do is take this over to the table saw and we're gonna rip off this curved edge here so it's flat, and then we're gonna set our rip fence 1 inch away from the blade, and we're gonna run this through 3 times. So from each piece of 2x4, we're gonna end up with 3 pieces that are 1 inch thick, of course, 1.5 inches wide, and then 23 3/8 inches long. So here's what we got. 13 of the stripes cut out. So like I said, each of them is 1 inch thick, 1.5 inches wide, and 23 7/8 inches long. So we got that from our 1 2x4, and then this was from that other 2x4 piece we cut out. We only needed 1 of those pieces from this piece, so we can just chuck that. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna grab 2 of our clamps. We're using pipe clamps, and we're gonna put these just about 22 inches away from each other. And then we're gonna lay our whole piece in between those, and we're gonna clamp it up. Before we tighten the clamps, we wanna make sure that these edges are lined up. Now you're gonna bring it so it's facing you, and we're gonna draw some lines on where we're gonna cut with the angle grinder. So how we're gonna do this, I'm just gonna take my scrap piece here, and I'm gonna just make a diagonal, make a line here, make a line here, go about 4 or 5 inches away from each other. Just kind of eyeball it, doesn't need to be perfect. And you're gonna make some lines. So we're gonna use an angle grinder to cut this. We're using one which is just a 40 grit sandpaper. If you can find a shaping disc, that would be perfect. We went to 3 different stores today and none of them had a shaping disc. This is the closest we got, so it's gonna take us a little bit longer. But basically, we're just gonna go ahead and run it down the line and make this cut on this line deeper, and then make our way out to get that little wave on each side. So this is gonna take a while, it's gonna take a lot of shaping. Nobody's is gonna turn out the same way, so you just kinda gotta go for it, eyeball it, and have fun while you're doing it. So in all honesty, this was my first time using an angle grinder. So I started off by going with big strokes, with just kind of putting the nose of the angle grinder down and trying to get as much of the material off like that. And that worked a little bit, but then I realized if I turned it sideways, and then I just used the very tip of the angle grinder, and I dug down a line all the way down to the bottom, and I kind of worked my way up to the right, and then I did it on the other side of that little trench I just made, worked my way up to the left. That made it way easier to get material out on both of those sides, going from one side to the other, and really getting that nice wave and making it deeper. So when you're done with the angle grinder, it's gonna look pretty rough. It's not gonna be smooth pretty much at all. That's fine, because then we went ahead and we hit it with the 60 grit sandpaper on our orbital sander, and that is where you really do most of the shaping. That's where you get everything pretty smooth, but obviously still rough because it's 60 grit. Once you're done with the 60 grit, then you start to smooth it out. 120 grit, 220 grit. We went up to 320 grit. We've been liking doing that. It just makes everything feel way softer in the end.
Alright, Editor John here. I don't know how we forgot to record any sort of explanation on what Peter's doing here, but he's just giving this a good wood burn with the torch. He's going real slow, making sure he's trying to cover everything as evenly as he can. This took him about 5-ish minutes because you gotta go real slow, be a couple inches off of the wood, make sure you're going evenly, and try not to hold that canister upside down for too long. You'll kind of lose your torch flame there. But yeah, that's what we did to get this wood burned.
All right, so we've got it all burned and sanded, and we scraped it a little bit, so it's looking good. Remember, it is still not glued up. So now we're gonna pick it up so you can see that backside. And I'm just gonna draw a triangle from the top down here, connect those. Now we're gonna take our stencil. I got a pack of stencils on Amazon for like 10 bucks. I think it was pretty cheap. So we're gonna use this one, which is 10 inches by 7 inches, and we're gonna put it up where the stars are gonna go, and then we're just gonna trace it so we know exactly where those are gonna go. And you're gonna draw that line there around the bottom side. So now you know where the union is gonna go, and now we can unclamp it. And I'm just gonna place it right back down where it was. Now we're gonna space them out because the colors have to be opposite, so we'll do one color, another color, one color. You could do red and white. We're not gonna do red and white because we've got a red and white flag behind us. We're gonna do stain and not stain. So we'll take one, we'll stain it, we'll leave the next one blank, we'll take the other one, stain it, next one blank, stain it, and we'll go through that on all of them. So now you can go ahead and glue this up just like you'd glue up a cutting board, the same way on those bar clamps that we used to hold it all together. Or you can do what we're gonna do, which is just gonna make the process go a little bit faster, which is put a little bit of glue, and then you sandwich it up to this piece, line it up, then we're gonna flip it up and pop some brad nails in it. Just go ahead and keep doing that. Now we'll glue this one, and then we'll brad nail this one, and we'll go all the way through. Now it's time to get the stars on. One option to get the stars on, you can tape this down with some masking tape and make sure that you're pushing it down so it goes all the way into those waves and it's not just sitting up like this. And then you can go ahead, you can spray paint it, you can paint it on with a paintbrush, or you can even get like a paint marker and draw them on. I've done that before. I've done all those before. Option 2 is to use your Dremel. As you can see, I've done this before on a bigger flag, and it is time consuming. You have to put the stencil on, then you have to draw it all out with a pencil or a pen or something. Then you take your Dremel with a very small little carving bit, and you just go ahead by hand, just like you're drawing, like you did with the pencil, and you have to do the outline of each star, and then you have to do the inside of each star, so it takes a while. I think by star like 23, when I did it last time, I was like, all right, we don't actually need 50 states. I think we're fine without like New Hampshire. So that brings us to our third option, the one that we are going to do, which is use a Cricut. So what a Cricut is it's basically just a vinyl cutter, and it creates stickers. So we've got one of those machines. They are a couple $100, so I wouldn't recommend buying one for just this project. But what we've done is we've created our own kind of stencil with the Cricut vinyl cutter. So you can see as I peel this off, all the stars are staying on that piece there. So you can see we've got all 50 stars on there, and they're just stickers. So we're just gonna go ahead and place that on the Union. First, we gotta get some transfer tape on it. So when I'm polying this, I'm just being really careful around the stars, not putting too much pressure on it, just kind of guiding that poly around the stars, make sure that it covers the whole thing. I'm probably gonna do a couple coats on this, maybe 2 or 3, make sure those stars are on there, then go ahead, sand with 220 afterwards, and then put some more poly on, sand, poly, you know the deal. All right guys, here it is. I'm very proud of this. I think it looks really great. And like we said, it was from one 2x4 and then one piece of scrap wood. That whole thing was about a $5 build, and I've seen these things go from anywhere from $100 to $200. The smaller ones, this is definitely on the smaller side. I've seen these for about $75 to $100 on Facebook and Etsy and stuff like that. And then if you want to make a bigger one, it's gonna take a little more wood, but you can sell it for a lot more. But that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below any other videos you'd like us to make, and I'll see you in the next one. Today, I'm gonna show you how to make this $200 coffee table for only $22.06 worth of wood. This project also cost me 1 hoodie and 1 pair of pants. You'll see what I mean by that a little later in the video, but stick to then, it's good. Enjoy. You're gonna need 3 1x4s and then 5 2x4s. Stop. Sorry, we messed up. You only need 4 2x4s and 2 1x4s, making this a $22.06 project, not whatever else I said. We've got these 2 left over and the coffee table is done. So only buy 4. You don't need this. We don't need these. Okay, back to the video. I'm sorry. So we're gonna start with our top. We're gonna cut 2 pieces off of all 3 of our 2x4s that are 40 inches long. So we're gonna end up with 6 pieces that are 40 inches long, and then we're gonna have 3 pieces that are like 16 inches long. Those are gonna be scraps, and you can put those aside for now. We've got our 6 2x4 pieces cut out. They're all at 40 inches. So now we're gonna take all 6 of our 2x4s over to the table saw, and we're gonna cut them down to 1.5 inches of thickness, and then it'll be 1.5 inches of width, and then of course 40 inches long. The reason we're doing 1.5 instead of like 1.75 is because the blade's gonna take a little bit off, and at the end it's probably just gonna look a little bit better if it's a little bit thinner. So we're gonna cut all these down to 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches by 40 inches. Oh, we were so close. We kicked the circuit breaker like 2.5 inches away from being done, the 12th piece. That would happen. That's crazy. What are the odds of that? All right, let's go turn it on. All right, so we've got all 12 of our pieces cut out and laid out. Now what we're gonna do is glue them up like it's a big old pine cutting board. So go ahead and map it out the way you want it to look, and then flip everything to the side, put a bunch of glue on there, and then put all those pieces together, and then we're gonna clamp it, put some cauls on it, and let it sit for a few hours. So we've got this clamped up, but we don't have a ton of pressure on it yet. Before we put too much pressure, we're gonna use cauls, which is just a piece of wood that has some masking tape over it. This is just to help even out the workpiece. We're gonna clamp from the top to the bottom in 3 places here, and that's just gonna even it out a little bit more and get that whole thing a little bit more level. Of course, we'll go ahead and sand it down level afterwards, but this helps out a lot. And we're gonna end up putting 2 clamps in the middle, but first we're gonna wipe our glue because there is a lot. So this is what our top looks like. We're gonna put this aside now and get started on the legs. So for the legs, you're gonna grab another 2x4, and we're gonna cut 4 pieces that are 17 inches long with a 22.5 degree angle in them. So it's gonna look like this. You're gonna need 4 of them, and like I said, from the tip here down here is 17 inches. So now you're just gonna go ahead and copy that cut 4 more times. So now we're gonna take these over to the table saw, and we're gonna cut 1/4 inch off each side. So then these are 3 inches thick, and that also is gonna take off this rounded edge here because we don't want that rounded edge look. 4 of those done, 3 inches wide now, no rounded edges. Now, from our original 3 2x4s we cut, we got these 16-inch piece cutoffs. So we're gonna grab 2 of them for now, and we're gonna take these over to the miter saw and cut them at 12 inches. All right, now that we've got our 12-inch pieces, we're gonna take both of these over to the table saw, and we're gonna cut them at a 22.5 degree angle lengthways. Set the table saw blade at 22.5 degrees. You're just gonna wanna take off as little material as possible, but still making sure when you make that cut, you don't leave any of that rounded edge over. I'll show you how these are gonna fit into the legs. Now, again, you've got one rounded side. That's fine because you're never gonna see this. It'll be on the bottom underneath a shelf. So, we're gonna put this one down, just like this. We're gonna line up so the angles are all facing the same way, and then we're gonna bring our legs down just a few inches, and then once you clamp and glue those together, this is what you will end up with on both sides. So this will be at a 90 degree angle because we've cut everything at a 22.5, and then you'll have that flush piece right there at that 22.5 all the way up the legs. So how we're gonna actually put these together is first things first, we're gonna flip 2 of our legs down, and we're gonna measure from this bottom point up 3 inches and make a mark. Now we're gonna flip these back up. We're gonna take our piece, so our 22.5 degree angle can lay flat on the table, and then we're gonna match that point right to the tip of that piece there. Then we're gonna do on this side as well. Once it's lined up there, then you can put some glue on there and then glue it and screw it into place. All right, so we just went ahead and we clamped it for now, and then a little bit later, when the glue is a little bit more solidified, we'll go ahead and screw it in. But for now, wipe your glue, and that's what it's gonna look like. And do that with the other legs as well. So you can do dowels here if you want. We're not gonna. And now go ahead with the countersink. Countersink. Screw it in. Now do that on the other side and the other set of legs. All right, our legs are good. Still need to be sanded and stained, obviously. Now we are going to work on the bottom shelf. So we need 2 of our 1x4s. And what we're gonna do on the first one is cut 3 pieces out that are 28 inches long. And then on the other one, we're gonna cut another piece that's 28 inches long. That's all we're gonna need for the bottom shelf. Once we get those cut out, we are gonna go ahead and rip them down to 3 inches wide. So if you wanna do that before, you can. From our 2 1x4s, what we got were 4 pieces that are 28 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 3/4 inches thick. So these are gonna be the bottom of our coffee table. Obviously these legs will be spread out, but once these are all together, look at that. Perfect. So before we actually assemble these, we're gonna sand these down and then we're gonna stain them a dark walnut or something like a dark walnut before we actually assemble, because it's gonna make this whole thing way easier. And then with these legs, we're gonna sand these and we're gonna paint these white. Well, I spilled the paint all over myself. It fell, and shoes, pants, hoodie. That's tough. And even the bottom of the table. Awesome. So now that we've got the legs painted and we've got those slats stained, we're gonna go ahead and work on our big top. Now, our top has been drying overnight. We just decided to let it glue overnight. So now what we're gonna do is sand it a little bit, start at 60 grit, and we're just gonna sand the whole thing down, give it one nice sand at 60. Then we're gonna go ahead and straighten up those edges on both sides. So what we're doing here is we're just putting a straight edge, and then we're just taking off as little of the material as we can and still keeping that edge straight, and we're just gonna do that on both sides. And then we're gonna go ahead, sand again at 60, make sure everything's flat. Then we'll make our way up to 120, 220, 320. Then we're gonna go ahead, stain the top. We're using that same honey walnut that we used for the bottom. That will be in the link in the description below. Then we're gonna go ahead and do those whole sides. Thank you to John for sanding and staining this. It looks amazing. And now, let's get to putting it together. All right, guys, time for the fun part. We've got our 4 bottom slats here, our 2 legs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of them and one of the legs, and we're just gonna clamp it to the edge there. Now, this one doesn't need to be perfect, and we're not gonna do glue or anything yet. We're just doing this so we can have this whole piece be standing upright before we actually glue the other ones. Now we'll clamp the other side, just like that. And you see we didn't paint this because we want it to be open, so we can go ahead and put some glue on it. And then spread that in a little bit, and then I'll do that on the other side as well. All right, so I'm just gonna line this one up. Don't worry about the other side quite yet. Line it up so it's just touching the very top of that angle there. And now let's pop 2 brads in it. And now I'm gonna line this other one up as well. And 2 there. Now do that with the other 2 that are left over, and then once these are all brad nailed in, then we can unclamp this one and do the same. All right, this is your table base. This thing looks great. Now we're gonna put this aside, grab our top, and put the top side face down. So to get this base attached to the tabletop, it's pretty simple. Because from here to here is 15 inches, and our table is 18 inches. Which means to center this up, we want this to come in 1.5 inches on each side, which is perfect because all of our pieces here are 1.5 inches thick. So when we put this on, all we need to do is come in 1.5 inches, which is there. You can see you've got 1.5 inches left on this side and 1.5 inches left on this side. Now lengthwise, it's gonna be pretty easy to center this as well. So I'm gonna measure from the far point on this side of the top leg to the far point on this side, and that's 18 inches. Now we're gonna put this down and measure our table base. It is 39.5 inches long. So now, to get the measurement we need, we're gonna take 39.5 minus 18, which is 21.5. Then we're gonna split that in half, which is 10.75. What we need to do is come in from each corner 10 3/4 of an inch and make a mark right on that 1.5 inch line that comes in. And then you line up this outside corner of each of your 4 legs to that mark right there. This is what it looks like when it's perfectly centered on the table. So now I'm just gonna go ahead on each of these legs and I'm gonna draw just a little line here so we can follow once we take this off and put the glue on. So I'm just doing that for all 4 of the legs, and then we're gonna put some glue on, get this thing glued down, and then we're gonna put 1 screw in it just for a little bit extra support. So now we're just gonna put a little bit of a pre-drill here, and then angle it, go down. Then take our 2-inch screw. You can use a 2.5-inch screw if you want. And then just sink that in. Perfect. Now you just gotta go ahead and do that for all 4 of the table legs. Oh yeah, that looks awesome. There it is, guys. Farmhouse style, modern-ish style coffee table. It is complete. I am quite impressed with it. I love it. I think it looks amazing. I love this farmhouse coffee table style. And this thing is sturdy. Those screws and glue underneath there, I mean, we just barely screwed and glued those, and this thing is sturdy. So yeah, this is going in our apartment because we need a new coffee table. But I have sold coffee tables very similar to this for the 150 to 175 range. But because it is a farmhouse style and it's very nicely done, and it took us about 4 or 5 hours to build completely, this would be something that I would post for 200 bucks. And if I don't get that in like a week, I'd bump it down to 175, but I don't think I'd have any problem at all getting 175 for this. That's gonna do it, guys. Like I said, this is a $22 project. You could sell for upwards of 200 bucks. Took us 2 1x4s and 4 2x4s. Sorry we messed that up in the intro. It also cost me 1 hoodie and 1 pair of pants, but that's the price of doing what we love. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. I saw this photo on Etsy of this shelf for $1,600. That's too much money for that. But it's a cool project, and I know that I can make it, and you can make it, with just a drill and a circular saw. So today, I'm gonna show you how to build this shelf step by step with just these 2 power tools. Let's go. All right, so I've got my drill and my circular saw, and then I've got 4 2x6s behind me. Ideally, I would have made this project out of 2x8s, but there are no 2x8s that are like anywhere near flat at Lowe's right now. So we're doing 2x6s, $24 worth of wood, not bad. So let's just get into the cut list. So the first thing we're gonna do is take one of our 2x6s and we're gonna measure 72 inches. I'm gonna use a speed square to mark it. You do not need to if you don't want to, but I'm going to because it'll make this a little bit easier. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead with the circular saw and I'm gonna cut right on that line. All right, this is our cutoff from that. We've got our 72-inch piece here. Now we need to get 15 inches from this piece. Now cut that the exact same way. All right, at this point, I feel like you get the deal. We're cutting them all out with the circular saw. So here they all are. We've got 2 at 72 inches long. We've got 2 at 30 inches long. We've got 2 at 15 inches long, 4 at 13.5 inches long, and 2 at 12 inches long. And the cut list will be in the description below, so if you want to see it on Word form, it'll be there. But now let's get to the fun part of building. So the first thing we're gonna do is take a 30-inch piece and a 72-inch piece, and we are going to butt these up. And to joint these 2, we're gonna do glue, and then we're gonna do 2 dowels right on the bottom here. We're gonna be using a 3/8 inch drill bit and a 3/8 inch dowel to put all these together. So first thing we're gonna do is measure 3 inches down our dowel and down our drill bit, and we're gonna put a piece of tape on our drill bit because all of the dowels are gonna go in 3 inches, so it goes 1.5 inches into both pieces. Now you can measure if you want. We're just gonna kind of eyeball it. Go about in the middle of the 2x6 thickness here and then down there and just try to make it look as good as possible. And then stop at that little flag there. Now what we're gonna do is take these apart. I'm only gonna unclamp one and we're gonna add some glue to that edge grain there. Now we're gonna line it back up, make sure we're at 90 again, clamp it down. Then we're gonna drive those dowels right into there. Perfect. All right, and we're doing the exact same thing on this side. We're gonna get it up to the edge there. We've clamped this down. Wow, that's perfect. What are the odds of that? Now we're gonna clamp this down to the workbench as well. Drill your pre-holes and put those dowels in it. Now, if you're wondering why I go half in and then half out, it's because this thing gets clogged up, so you gotta just get all that little sawdust out and then you can go back again. Be way easier. Take those clamps off, flip it around, and do the top. Now that we've got the frame put together, next we're gonna start working on the shelves. So the easiest way to do this is to do it separate from the actual base. So we're gonna build those two one at a time. So you're gonna take your 13.5-inch pieces and you're gonna butt them up to that 12-inch piece. And what I'm doing here is I'm gonna do dowels, but I'm also gonna do screws. So I'm gonna drill into that 12-inch piece about 1/2 inch with that 3/8-inch drill bit. Then I'm gonna go ahead with my 1/8-inch drill bit, and then I'm gonna pre-drill a hole for the screws because I'm gonna be putting screws and then I'm gonna cap them with the dowel afterwards to hide those screw holes. Then you're gonna go ahead and find the center of your 12-inch piece on the top. You're gonna find the center, which will be 6 inches. Then you're gonna go 3/4 of an inch on one side of that line, 3/4 of an inch on the other side of that line. So you'll have a 1.5-inch gap there in the middle. And that is where you're gonna line up your 15-inch piece. And then you're gonna do the same thing on the bottom of that 12-inch piece. You're gonna do 1/2 inch into it with the drill bit. Then you're gonna pre-drill the screws, put the screws in, and then we're gonna cap it off with a dowel afterwards. So when you're done, it should look like this. And it's gonna slide in just like this to your frame, and then you can place these wherever you want it. And whenever you want to put these in, you'll go ahead and you can put dowels or screws into these sides. So we're gonna go ahead and make the second one, and then we'll come back and show you exactly how we're gonna put it all together. So these are built, screws are in, dowels are in. We sanded both these down, and then we sanded the inside of this quite a bit. So now to place these, we're gonna go from this edge here, and we're gonna measure 16 inches. And we're gonna make a mark right there. So all you're gonna do is line this piece up to that 16-inch mark. So you're put 2 dowels in here, 2 dowels in here, and then on the other side, this one's also flush there. You put 2 more dowels in there, and then we'll work on the lower shelf. All right, we got it. We've got this one put in with the dowels, 2 on each end. Now we're gonna stand it up. Oh wow, that's tall. Oh wow, that's a lot taller than me.
Everyone's gonna do the math and figure out how tall you are.
5'9". 5'8 3/4. Let's not lie.
5'8.5".
5'8 3/4.
5'8 1/4.
5'8 7/8.
5'8".
I'm 5'9 1/2.
You're 5'4".
5.
Oh, I've never had to film the ceiling.
Whoa! So now we're gonna take this shelf and we're gonna offset it. So we're gonna put it just like that. And again, you're gonna measure 16 inches, but now from this corner. So you're doing the opposite corner, measuring 16 inches up. And then the edge of this piece will match up to that 16-inch mark. Drill, screw, dowel, whatever you want to do. We're going to do dowels again. Yeah, same step, and we'll come back to you once it's all put together. That Dave's hot chicken hit me hard, dude. I'm feeling it right now. Dave, you dirty dog. All right. Well, guys, here it is. We went ahead and sanded it 120, then 220. So what we're going to do now is post this on Facebook Marketplace. We're going to put it up for $250, and we're filming this video on Monday. The video is going up on Tuesday. So by the time we post this video, it probably won't be sold. But if you want to see how it sells, make sure that you subscribe, because I'll be updating you guys in the community notes how much we sold it for and how long it took to sell. So we're gonna put it up for $250, and yeah, it's tall. It's a lot taller than I thought it was gonna be. We'll put it in the apartment. We'll get some good photos of it staged up with some books and stuff on it, and yeah, we'll keep you updated. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see how it sells. I should also mention that we're not gonna stain this because we're gonna post it as sanded and ready to accept paint or stain. Sometimes that works a little bit better. And then we can also charge a little bit extra if they want us to stain it, and then we can stain it whatever color they want, or they can do that. But that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Guys, if you like that video and you want to see more of the videos that we have done on the channel, you can click over here. There's more videos that we have done. Today, we're gonna take one 2x8 and we're gonna turn it into something that is fun, easy, and profitable, and it's only gonna take like an hour. First things first, we're making some cuts. Believe it or not, we're gonna make 2 cuts to start. One at 12 inches, and then one that's 20 inches long. So the remainder of these cuts are gonna be cut at 30 degrees, and I'm gonna walk you through each individual cut. You got 3 more left to do, so let's go over to the miter saw, set it at 30 degrees, and get our first cut. Right off the bat, we're just gonna cut this edge at 30 degrees. Now that we've got our 30-degree angle cut, we're just gonna flip this just like that. So if we were to cut right now, we'd have those opposing angles making a trapezoid. So what we need to do now is measure from tip to tip 12 inches. Now obviously you don't have that other tip yet, so we're gonna set this one on this edge right there, go to 12 inches, make a mark, make your mark there at 12 inches, and now we're gonna bring it back to the miter saw, and then where this blade is going to hit the back of this piece, that is where we wanna start our cut. Now for the next cut, we gotta do that again. Flip it again, and then from tip to tip will be 22 inches. And now for our last remaining piece, from this tip here to this right angle is 38 inches right now. But we need to cut this, and this one we're cutting at a parallelogram. So this angle that we're gonna cut here is going to be parallel to this angle we've already cut down here. So we don't have to flip this one, and we're gonna move this piece until this 90-degree angle here is meeting the miter saw blade. And this ended up being from tip here to this obtuse angle tip about 34 inches long. Now this doesn't need to be perfect, and yours doesn't need to be the same, which is awesome. As long as you got those 30-degree angles, you should be okay. So let's come over to the rest of the pieces we've cut here. We've got 5 of them so far. We've got our 12-inch piece down here, and then we've got our long 34-inch piece here, and we're gonna rest that just like that. Then we've got our 22-inch piece, and this one's gonna go somewhere around here. And then let's see, can I grab that other one? Okay, so far so good. And then that could go somewhere like there, or you could mess around and you can make that one go up there.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, what do you think about that? You want to do that?
I don't know.
Okay, and then I'll show you what to do with that other piece after. Help. So we kind of decided this is what we're going for. So we're gonna need some pocket holes right here, 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 and then here and here for this piece there. So let's go get our pocket hole jig. I should say, guys, make sure you're making these pocket holes in the back of your piece, the piece that you want to be against the wall or just not shown as much. If you haven't picked the side that you want to be front or back, it doesn't matter. Like, we haven't really picked, it doesn't really matter. But if you've got a side that you're like, this grain should definitely be the front, make sure you put the pocket holes in the back.
Might be the most awkward thing I've ever seen pocket hole.
Dude, I saw you pocket hole a rodent once. Now that the pocket holes are drilled, you're gonna take your 20-inch piece and bring it over to the table saw. We're just gonna rip it so both pieces we get from it are 3.5 inches wide, just making this a 2x4. Now you're gonna take those two and you're going to cut them in half at 10 inches. You're only gonna need 3 of them, so you can take the extra one and discard it. Take it back. Thanks, John. So before we go ahead and assemble these, we're gonna sand them all up. And I think we've decided we're just not really gonna show you us sanding, because if we don't show you us sanding, we don't actually have to sand. No, I'm kidding, we sand, but what you don't wanna watch us sand. All right, so right now we are just putting this whole thing together. Pretty easy. I mean, you can see I'm gluing it, taking 2.5-inch pocket hole screws, and I'm screwing those pieces together. And the shorter piece, as I said earlier in the video, make sure you put the pocket holes on all of the same side. Somehow I didn't do that for this shorter piece, so the pocket holes are screwed up on this one. Now we're just gonna center it up to that bottom piece, length and width. Make sure that on the 2 long sides and the 2 short sides, the measurement lines up, and put those pocket hole screws in. All right, it's a few days later, we just got busy. So we went ahead and we fixed those pocket hole screws on that side with 3/8-inch dowels. Those are always a great fix for that. And now we've got our 3 shelves here. Now before we put those shelves on the actual project, we're gonna stain those a honey walnut, and we're also gonna stain the base here a honey walnut. Then we're gonna paint the tree thing white. So it's gonna be like a farmhouse style-ish thing, which I think will look really nice. So make sure that you stain these before you put them on. Maybe we should have stained the base before we put it on, but we didn't. It'll be fine with some masking tape. As you can see, it's been a little while since we filmed. I don't know how long it's been, but we did some work on the walls. They're looking good. All right, we have one very simple step left. Put some glue on the bottom of these, place it, And we're gonna brad nail it. Hopefully that didn't break. You can also screw it, you can dowel it, do whatever you want. We're just gonna glue it and brad nail because it's easy. All right, let's get this thing upstairs, get some plants on it, stage it up, post it for sale. Still working. Oh, you're still filming? Okay. All right. See you guys in a second. All right, so let's talk about it. We staged it up. We're taking some photos of it to post on Facebook. We're gonna start at $75. This was a $10 board, I believe, a 2x8, 10 bucks. It's really only a 90-minute working time build, so not bad at all, and I really like the way it looks. One thing I will mention, it stands up completely fine on its own, unless you only put a plant on this one right here. If you do that, the whole thing will tip, but if you put a plant just there, one there, one there, one here, it's fine. But if you only put one here, it'll fall over. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below any other videos you'd like us to make, and I'll see you in the next one. Guys, if you like that video, click right here to check out the bench that we just built and sold. Great video, great project. Or you can click right here for something that YouTube thinks you're gonna like.